Amy Smith, and I'm actually taking over Sally A. Illingworth's account tonight for our Reboot Show live. So let us know where you're coming in from. Drop a 1 below if you're here live with us. Drop a 2 below if you're coming in on the replay. So welcome, guys. I'm here with Sally A. Illingworth and Luke Stowe. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Amy. How are you?
Excited. Good. How does it feel with someone else taking over your account, Sally?
I'm a little bit nervous, I must say. I've never done this before, but I trust you. I have full trust in you and what we do here at the Reboot Show.
Oh, come on, never get to take over the account.
Oh, come on. We both know what I
yeah. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that offline, Luke. But look, guys, tonight we are talking about cyberbullying and cybersecurity in the digital age, and particularly how that's evolved over time. So, Sally, I'd love to kick things off with you. We are in the age of digital. We have social media very much a part of our lives now. So what are some of the real challenges and the real problems out there that we're facing, as a society with some of these cyberbullying issues and cybersecurity issues that are coming up?
Well, I think one of the big things is, like, I reflect on when I started using digital when I was younger, and, it certainly wasn't as commonplace. Like, for example, it was quite detached from our day-to-day lives. Like, for example, when I was younger, I would come home from school, I would get access to the computer, and then I could use the computer to go online and use services like MSN, or back then it was like Bebo. Facebook was for adults, so you didn't use Facebook, etc. But I think what's happened is that because digital is now integrated to nearly every aspect of our lives, what's happening is that we're online more of the time. And a lot more areas of our lives are reliant, if you like, or becoming, cooperating with digital services. So what that means is that we're at greater risk of being in scenarios where, for example, there may be a security issue, or there may be a behavioral issue, to your point about cyberbullying. So that's sort of my 2 cents. I just think it's become a lot more integrated with our lives, and therefore we're more at risk, if you like.
Yeah. And, what's your definition, Luke, of cyberbullying and what that means? Because, we're talking really about someone that, just sort of says maybe like a negative comment, or maybe doesn't disagree with someone, or does it have varying degrees? Like, what are the real issues here?
Yeah, look, it's a really good part of the equation, Amy, to define it. And I think, look, anything that can be taken offensive by anyone online is a form of cyberbullying. And this is a day and age we live in. When I sort of reflect back on my schooling, we didn't have, of course, any of these wonderful technologies that we have today. And so therefore, it was name calling that might happen in the play yard or in the playground. And you might be out and someone would say something to you, or there'd be an offense taken. But nowadays this can all happen online, and so it's just basically life online. But with online, you're connecting with people you've never really met before, or you don't have any background on them, or they don't really know you. So that's where I think the danger really comes in, is that you're dealing with people that you just don't have any idea about what they're trying to achieve, or what their background might be, or why they're making statements that they want to do. And in the extreme, we do know that people have committed suicide over cyberbullying, and there's some famous cases about that globally. Young people in particular. So this is a very serious topic, and people can be really hurt by these things.
Yeah, and I know particularly with young people, there's a stat that I read online this week actually, where 82% of young people have been affected by cyberbullying, and also asking social media platforms to actually do more and take more responsibility. So, Sally, in terms of the responsibility here, like, where does it lie? Is it with these technology platforms, and what can they be doing, I guess, for their users to help protect people from this happening?
Well, I think, this is a really difficult conversation. And I think one of the big things that often comes into this debate, which is similar to the debate around, say, censorship of content, which is quite topical in the political space, is that, people have a right to freedom of speech. People have a right to say what they want to say. So I think it's difficult to sort of pick, say, one entity or one party that has full responsibility for governing this stuff and ensuring it doesn't happen, or at least putting a stop to it when it does happen. So I think probably from a user perspective, the best thing that everyone can do is, ensure that they're taking their best steps to use digital for good. So, not becoming, for example, a cyber criminal or something to that effect, or not bullying people online. So I think, as users, we have a very large responsibility in that picture. I think with the digital platforms, like they certainly hold a lot of responsibility as well, but I think there's just so many complexities with governance around that and different laws and different regulations. And, and that's why we're seeing a lot of governments, trying to take steps to be able to enforce more upon digital platforms in their own countries that they respectively govern. But that's just creating a lot of debate because these digital platforms are fighting back and saying, well, we only provide the platform, we have no role over editorial of the content. And then that's where it becomes a huge debate because in some cases they do actually exert greater preference or control over editorial stuff. So I would say there's no clear-cut answer to that in my perspective. I think certainly as users we should be very conscious of what we're doing, what we use these services for. But more broadly, I think over time, particularly as we surface a lot more issues and there are a lot more discussions about the challenges of digital, we'll be able to get into a stronger position where we can get clarity on who's responsible for what. So,
yeah. And, not to bring up your age, Luke, because that would be a jab, but, we have to bring it up at some point in terms of, Sally and I are probably more so on the digital native side of things where we kind of have grown up with these kind of technologies, whereas you've mentioned before that things have changed over time. So from a technology standpoint, like what are you seeing as some of the biggest changes from a technology aspect that have played a role in this, good, bad, or indifferent? And what do you think we're seeing, moving forward into the future about maybe some of the solutions that are out there and in combating some of these issues?
Yeah, look, great question, and I'd love to hear from the audience too about what their thoughts about cyberbullying and cyber sort of issues that they may have faced and some of the solutions they may have used. But yeah, look, I am a bit of a digital dinosaur, I guess you could call me. In that
I didn't say that.
Well, no, I mean, this is it was good of you to give a playground example of how to diss someone about their age. Look, I think the technologies have changed quite rapidly. We have really sped up, I guess, in the amount of social media that we all use on a day-to-day basis. And I think screen time is 5 to 6 hours per human being these days. And we utilize this technology for our benefit and work, and also our social. And therefore, because we're on the devices all that time, the technology itself is smart. It captures data, it shows images, it allows us to take photos, put music into it, put text on the photos and on videos. And of course, sometimes you may say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing in any of those communications, and the technology really doesn't stop you from doing that. It lets you do what you want, basically. And posts can be taken down if they seem to be distasteful or inappropriate, and definitely, you see that sometimes on Facebook or with Instagram. You can report a post that you think might be, racially abusing someone or worse, have some type of content in it that people might find offensive. So the technology is advancing, and they have got AI that looks out for these type of issues. But of course, what it really comes down to, I think, is people being educated, and children in particular being educated that not everything you have online is always friendly or fun. And, I think that's an important point. I'm interested in your views for both of you as well, and maybe there's a topic we can follow here. But I also think there's a high amount of education to be done. I think when people make mistakes online, if it's a genuine mistake, then we should move down the education path and give them the opportunity to reconcile and to think about what they've done and to realize they made a mistake and to do the right thing. But of course, for people who are committing criminal crimes and criminal crimes, that's sort of interesting.
Double whammy.
Crimes. Criminals that are conducting crimes, then hopefully they,
Sorry, doesn't it make them a criminal because they're conducting the crime? So you don't know.
That's the whole point. So that's why I stopped laughing at myself. So basically, that I think in itself is, dangerous territory, and we need to treat these technologies with the respect they deserve, because you wouldn't walk up to someone in the street and say some of the things and do some of the things people do online.
Well, that's right. I mean, Yeah, we've got all these keyboard warriors out there now. That's the general term for what people, are experiencing. And, I know businesses out there that have had people put fake reviews on their website or on their Google reviews and all those sorts of things. And it could be just an attack from a direct competitor or who knows, right? But people have like the freedom to do whatever they want online sometimes. So from a security point of view, if we're looking at like everyone's sort of out there throwing around all these different comments, good, bad, or the other. And what's the real sort of risk, or what should businesses be really mindful of in this space from, cybersecurity point of view, and really looking at some of this as a real risk to businesses out there?
Can I sort of I'll share my thoughts on that, but just before I do, add to what you were saying in terms of, for example, like we sort of tend to behave in different ways online than maybe we would in person. And I think, speaking about, what do you call them, cyber criminals or conducting crimes or something. But,
it's terminology. Yeah, we got it.
It's the same, in that scenario, for example, like, people are more likely in today's day and age to go and, try and hold someone ransom online than they are in person, because for certain things they can be anonymous, etc. But to share my thoughts on your question, Amy, I think it's interesting. I was doing some reading, a little while ago now, and it's certainly something I'm keeping an eye on. But I think from a cybersecurity perspective, one thing that's certainly surfacing as a conversation in this space is this concept of zero trust, which isn't new. It's not a new concept, but there are a lot of conversations being had around taking a zero trust architecture approach to cybersecurity, which in really simple terms assumes that trust is a native vulnerability, and therefore trust just shouldn't exist in cyberspace. And so what that means is that zero trust architectures as a concept, if you like, there's a lot of talk around using these, which are more, in effect, a way of working and less about having, systems in place, but it's more so around, okay, do this, then do that, etc. And the entire methodology assumes that trust is absent throughout. And, I think that's an interesting concept that we're now having conversations about, just assuming you can't have trust in any case. And I'm sure Luke's got some thoughts to add there in terms of like identity access management, etc.
Yeah, look, just going to your point, I mean, I think there are, corporations, I think, need to first and foremost, because this really isn't about technology, it's about people. And I think that technology is the enabler of these sort of issues within our society. And one of the things that I really think about there is, how do you educate people as to, what are the right things to do? So I think first and foremost, a good education program. Obviously, organisations need to develop policies. I think policies around, all the different types of, ethical treatment of people that exist in most organisations. Those policies need to be removed out of the drawer, dust blowing off them, and then have the conversation with people about, this is what we're really about as an organisation. And even smaller organisations need to leverage that. I think it's really important, that type of dialogue is held with teams so that people understand how they can work together and what's acceptable and what's not. And so a code of conduct of some type. And then I think then the second thing, to pick up on Sully's point, there are some great technologies out there today. We know that there are a plethora of identity management tools that are there to identify people as they gain access to networks and environments. There are access controls that are in place. And of course, organisations and business need to be compliant with those type of access and identity management systems. And then there is also a really large range of security tools which can monitor and, archiving email, for example, is a really important thing, something that a lot of organisations don't get right. But your ability to be able to run investigations and to be able to find things that are there is quite important. And of course, if in doubt, then go to some of the professionals. I know that most organisations or most countries in the world have some type of cyber security, cyber safe type governance in place, and you can go to those websites and you can find some great help artifacts there. And in some cases, you can even register requests for investigations. And if you needed to, you can get legal enforcement to help you resolve those issues. So you're not alone in these type of environments. I think one of the things that I feel a lot of people feel about this sort of situation is, and particularly when I talk to young people about this, they feel like they're by themselves and there's no one that can help them, and therefore there's nowhere they can turn, and these awful things have been done to them online, and they have no hope of being able to remedy that, and want their parents to move countries and suburbs just so they can get away from it. Look, I think turning away from it never really works. You've got to front up to these type of things and be able to work your way through it. And there are plenty of help agencies available for people. I just wanted to call out a few of our audience. We got people joining us from right around the world, Amy, and I'm sure Mohammed and Hamzia, and we got a pastor joining from Pakistan, which is great, and Ebenezer and Bernie, local guy here from Sydney, and I also saw that we had some of our regulars on here as well. All those people, interesting to see what they had to say.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from anyone that's listening as well in the comments about if you've ever experienced cyberbullying or know that someone that's experienced it as well, and maybe even some solutions as well in terms of how as a society we can start to really tackle some of these issues. So guys, I think, mindful of time, I think it's been a really great discussion to crack open, because I know this affects quite a lot of people out there, particularly now that we're all online, we're all experiencing this in different forms and different ways. So what are some of the key takeaways from you both in terms of things to think about, things to be mindful of, moving forward when we're looking at tackling some of these issues?
I might go first to that. Is that okay?
You sure can, Luke.
Beauty before age. So I think one of the things I think about, just something like to leave with our audience is, try to reach out to someone and be nice to them online for a change. Like, don't.
Wouldn't that be good?
Say something nice. I mean, you can write in and say, I've got a nice jacket on tonight, or if you want to comment on my hair, I did it especially for the show. All those type of things I think are just great to be able to do as human beings, and particularly in this time when we're trying to really connect with each other and there's a lot of angst in the world. It'd be nice to just generate some happiness online.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, I think my thoughts are, just from in terms of cybersecurity and cyber safety, etc. I think one, just just a decent level of consciousness to everyone, like online, in both personal and professional settings. I think that's really important. And then I'd say from a business perspective, certainly planning, and sort of looking at your strategy around cyber, because, I'm really fearful for just traditional businesses that, I've sort of been, exposed to circumstances even in traditional retail where, a mum and dad's store is impacted by a cyber issue, and they have absolutely no idea how to deal with it because they don't have the right processes in place. They haven't been given the right sort of, planning support, etc. So, it's certainly just that great level of awareness for everyone who is using digital, and then for businesses planning.
I just want to say, Sadie, who I think is a good, friend.
Sadie said, "I love the jacket."
I love the jacket. So thank you,
Come on, Sadie. No, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights. I think it's a really important topic. I'd love to hear more from the audience as well and their thoughts around this topic. Luke, you'll be joining me this week for the newsfeed on Friday. Is that right? 12 o'clock standard time. Ready for it?
Is that 12 o'clock on Friday?
It is. It's in your calendar. Make sure to check.
Maybe can I just say, maybe what you guys can do is a bit of an education session. Amy can teach you about, the terminology in cyberspace, about the cyber criminals that are conducting crimes.
I won't listen. So basically,
be a tongue twister the whole time.
It's great how you guys are giving an education on how to diss someone. But I guess one of the things I wanted to say before we sign off, Amy, because there's a lot of our normal followers on tonight, please go and subscribe to The Reboot Show on our YouTube channel, and you'll keep up with all the wonderful segments we're running.
Yep, for sure. You can see past episodes and episodes to come. So thanks, guys, and see you next time on The Reboot Show.
Subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.